Hello everyone, coming to the concluding part of RBC morphology variation. Next topic is rouleaux and autoagglutination. So rouleaux is when the RBCs they are arranged as stack, like a stack, one over the another. This is the rouleaux formation. And in autoagglutination there are clumps of RBCs. So in autoagglutination generally it is because of the antibodies. So in autoimmune hemolytic anemia, because of the antibodies, the RBCs they are like joined to each other in the form of clumps. While because of certain proteins which are increased in the blood, this stack of RBCs or rouleaux formation is seen in certain hypergammaglobulinemias, like for example most importantly multiple myeloma. Autoagglutination commonly in the autoimmune hemolytic anemia, like cold hemagglutinin disease. So one important differentiating point is the saline agglutination test. So what we do, we add a drop of saline to the blood and then we mix it and again make a smear. So with the saline, these rouleaux they get removed, while the autoagglutination is not affected by the saline. So this is an important test which we can do to differentiate between rouleaux and autoagglutination. So with the saline, this rouleaux formation will go off, while this will remain. Autoagglutination, it will remain because it is because of the antibody cross-linking of the RBCs. Next important point is that in cold agglutinin disease, generally clinically cyanosis is seen. So while it will not be seen in case of the hypergammaglobulinemias. So if cyanosis is given in the question, then it will point more towards autoagglutination or autoimmune hemolytic anemia. So this is important for the problem-based question. Another important test which we can use to differentiate between these two, rouleaux and autoagglutination, is the Coombs test. So you know that in autoimmune hemolytic anemia we do Coombs test. So direct Coombs test it detects the antibodies which are attached to the surface of the RBC, while the antibodies which are present in the serum, they are detected by the indirect Coombs test. So these are the important points regarding rouleaux and autoagglutination. Next we come to the certain inclusions which are certain, sometimes they create confusion and they are very commonly asked in the MCQs. So first is the Howell-Jolly body. So Howell-Jolly body is a DNA remnant. Important, you should remember that it is a DNA remnant and it is normally removed by the spleen. It is eccentric and it is 1 micron in size, and it indicates an increased turnover of the RBC. And sometimes when there is ineffective erythropoiesis, it can be seen. So if there is generally these nuclear remnants, they are removed by the spleen by pitting, but if there is splenectomy or autosplenectomy as seen in sickle cell anemia, so in those cases this Howell-Jolly body will be seen. Again in megaloblastic anemia, when there is ineffective erythropoiesis, severe hemolytic anemia, again Howell-Jolly bodies can be seen. In newborns, when there is increased erythropoiesis, sometimes these nuclear remnants they remain within the RBCs, so they are not removed. The spleen is not able to remove them because of the increased production. So in all those cases, Howell-Jolly body can be seen. So these are the important DDs. You have to remember this megaloblastic anemia and sickle cell anemia for the MCQs. Next is the Heinz body. Again, this is very important, that it is a body which is denatured hemoglobin. So how do you remember it? Heinz tomato ketchup you all know, so which is red in color. So the hemoglobin pigment is also red in color. So Heinz is denatured hemoglobin. This Heinz body is seen in G6PD deficiency, where there is oxidative damage to the RBC. So there is hemoglobin gets denatured, and very important that this Heinz body, it is not stained by the routine Romanowsky stains. This again comes in the MCQs. So they are demonstrated by the supravital stains. Now what are the supravital stains? They are brilliant cressyl blue and methylene blue. Now another important point is when there is Heinz body is formed, the splenic macrophages, they just bite off this Heinz body from the RBC, and after that this bite cell is formed. So Heinz bodies and these bite cells both can be seen in case of G6PD deficiency. Now this is a supravital staining which is demonstrating these Heinz bodies in the RBCs. So this is very important from the MCQ point of view. Next is the HbH inclusions, hemoglobin H inclusions. So they are bluish dot-like inclusions which is seen in the alpha thalassemia. So when there are three alpha genes are deleted, so HbH disease results, and in that there are tetramers of the beta chain which are formed and they lead to the formation of this HbH inclusion. Now another important MCQ is that it has a golf ball like appearance, and this is stained by the supravital stains. So this is important that these are the precipitated beta 4 chains and they are demonstrated by the supravital stain. This is the HbH inclusion. They have a golf ball appearance. Next is the Pappenheimer bodies or siderocytes. So their content is iron. So they have iron, so they will be stained by the stain for iron, which is Pearl's Persian blue stain. And whenever we see the Pappenheimer body, then we can say that there is some condition of iron overload or there is condition of hyposplenism, because generally spleen will remove these iron inclusions. So if the spleen is not there, splenectomy is there or hyposplenic state is there, again these Pappenheimer bodies will be seen. So differential diagnosis are hemolytic anemias, splenectomy, myelodysplastic syndromes and lead poisoning. So again these DDs are important and this stain is important for the iron, Pearl's Persian blue stain. Next we come to basophilic stippling. So these are purplish, these granular purplish inclusions in the RBCs, and what are their content? Their content is RNA and ribosomes. Whenever there is a problem with erythropoiesis, there is defective erythropoiesis, dyserythropoiesis or ineffective erythropoiesis, in those cases basophilic stippling is seen. Now examples are lead poisoning, then megaloblastic anemia, macrocytic anemias, and in certain hemoglobinopathies. In all these conditions basophilic stippling will be seen. So basically there is a defect in the erythropoiesis or the maturation of the RBCs, and that result in basophilic stippling. Now next we come to the Cabot ring. Now Cabot ring is again very important for MCQs, and sometimes there is a ring formation within the red blood cell, or sometimes there is figure of 8 formation. So these are the content of this Cabot ring is microtubules from the mitotic spindle. So these are the remnants of microtubules. This you should remember. And differential diagnosis of when we see Cabot ring, the DDs are, one is megaloblastic anemia, then lead poisoning or any heavy metal toxicity, and they can also be seen in case of hemolytic anemia. So this is all about the Cabot ring. Next is nucleated RBCs. So generally you know that the mature RBCs, they don't have any nucleus, but sometimes the nucleus can be seen in the RBC. So nucleated RBCs, they can be seen when there is increased red cell production, like in newborns. In hemolytic anemia, when there is increased peripheral destruction, so bone marrow produces more and more RBCs, and these nucleated RBCs, they are also seen in the peripheral smear. Then in case of sepsis, and in case of leukoerythroblastic blood picture. So leukoerythroblastic blood picture implies when there are nucleated RBCs, that is immature RBCs, as well as the WBCs which are immature, which are showing shift to left. So both these things are seen in leukoerythroblastic blood picture, that is left shift neutrophils and the immature RBCs or nucleated RBCs. When both of these components are seen, then we call it leukoerythroblastic blood picture, seen in case of bony metastasis, myelofibrosis, thalassemia major, multiple myeloma, Gaucher disease. So these DDs again, they are important for MCQs. When nucleated RBCs we see in the peripheral smear, how do we identify them? Because the cytoplasm matches that of the RBC. So we generally sometimes when the cytoplasm is less, we confuse it with the small lymphocyte, and in the counter also we get a increased total leukocyte count, because the even counter identifies this as a WBC. So we have to do the correction for the TLC. And how do we correct it? TLC into 100 upon 100 plus nucleated RBCs which are seen per 100 WBC. So we calculate the number of nucleated RBC which are seen per 100 WBCs, and we apply this formula for the corrected TLC. We have to give the corrected TLC in case we see nucleated RBCs in the peripheral blood smear. And lastly, this polychromatic RBCs. So polychromatic RBCs, they are nothing, they are equivalent of reticulocytes in the Romanowski preparation. I told you that reticulocytes, they are just the immediate precursor stage of the mature RBC, and they are pumped out from the bone marrow. They remain in the blood circulation for 2 days, and after that the ribosomes, they contain the ribosomes and RNA, and they are, which is removed by the spleen, and then they change into mature RBC. So normal percentage is 0.5 to 2% in a adult. And these polychromatic RBCs, they are also because they in the Romanowski stained smears, they have the bluish pinkish hue. So the pink hue in the cytoplasm of the RBC is because of the hemoglobin, and while the bluish hue, it is because of these RNA and ribosomes which are present in the polychromatic RBC. So you have to remember that they contain RNA and ribosomes. Now in the Romanowski dyes, they appear polychromatic. So but the reticulocytes, they are demonstrated by the reticulocyte stains, which are also known as supravital stains. So these are the brilliant cressyl blue and new methylene blue. Again, these two stains are very, very important for the MCQs. And why they are called supravital stains? Because vital means living. So these stains stain the RBCs in the living state. Normally when we stain the smear by the Romanowski stain, the Romanowski stain contains alcohol. We say that it contains acetone-free methyl alcohol. So that alcohol denatures the cells, and they make the cell dead. While in the supravital stains, these new methylene blue, brilliant cressyl blue does not contain any alcohol, so it will stain the RBCs in the live state. So that's why they are called supravital stain, and you have to remember the name of these two stains, these retic stains. So reticulocytes, they are demonstrated only by the supravital stain and not by the Romanowski. In Romanowski, they will appear as polychromatic RBCs. Now the reticulocytes normal is 0.5 to 2%. We correct the reticulocyte count in relation to the packed cell volume of the patient. So that gives us a corrected reticulocyte count. So corrected RC is the RC into the packed cell volume of that patient upon packed cell volume, which is normal for that age and sex. So that gives the corrected reticulocyte count. The differential diagnosis when of increased reticulocyte is increased erythropoiesis. When there is increased RBC production by the bone marrow, then reticulocyte count will be increased. For example, in hemolytic anemias, when there is peripheral destruction of the RBCs, the bone marrow will produce more and more RBCs. That will lead to increased reticulocyte count. And when there is extramedullary erythropoiesis, again reticulocyte count will be increased. Then in case of nutritional anemia, it is very, very important that nutritional anemia in itself, it will cause decreased reticulocyte count. If a person is having iron deficiency anemia, or if he is having megaloblastic anemia, there will be decreased RC. But when we give him the treatment, then in 4 to 5 days we again get the reticulocyte count done, so that comes increased, and that is known as the reticulocyte response. So this is very, very important to know that nutritional anemia on giving the treatment, it leads to increased reticulocyte count, while without treatment the reticulocyte count in nutritional anemia will be normal or low. Now another important point is the causes for decreased reticulocyte count. So decreased reticulocyte count will be decreased when there is decreased erythropoiesis, like in case of aplastic anemia, in certain drugs which are causing the bone marrow suppression. In all those cases, the reticulocyte count will be decreased. And also in nutritional anemia without any treatment, the reticulocyte count will be seen as decreased. There is another term which is reticulocyte production index. So that is calculated by the corrected reticulocyte count divided by the maturation time of the RBC. So RPI is very, very important. If RPI is more than 3, it indicates that the cause can be hemolytic anemia or certain hyperproliferative state of the bone marrow. While if it is less than 2, then it indicates that the marrow is hypoproliferative. So these are all the important points regarding the polychromatic RBCs or reticulocytes. So thank you very much.